Go. Hi, we're in the city of San Gabriel, and we're at the corner where San Gabriel Boulevard right here crosses over the Rio Hondo River. And what's important about this place in our history is this is the Aliso Ranch, where Peter Cornelius Prugh, our two times great-grandfather, and his children moved out here in 1915. And right here is the original bridge where they drove their cars over to the ranch. And just follow me up and I'll show you the ranch. These are not the Prughs, but the Prughs would probably welcome them to their home. So you cross over this bridge, and the road led to the right here, and it cruised up to their ranch. We'll take a shortcut. And here's what's left of the El Aliso Ranch. Now, El Aliso was named after the sycamore trees used to flourish in this entire area here. And so the story is that in 1913, after Peter Cornelius was working as the Reverend over at St. Paul's Orphans Home in Butler, Pennsylvania, he decided to retire. And his son William kind of knew this, and one of Peter's dreams was he's always wanted to come to California. So William, he purchased this lot right here in 1913, and in the course of 2 years they built a home and they made it into a nice ranch. So in 1915, Peter Cornelius, his son William, and his daughter Mary Augusta, and her husband Daniel Harnish, they moved out here to California to this ranch. Just follow me a little more. I'll show you where the stables were. Let me tell you a little more about the ranch here. So they bought the ranch in 1915, and they had their collection of turkeys and chickens. They had cows, goats, 2 dogs, and a couple other domestic animals. And here's one of the posts where the stables were, right about here. So you imagine they had their cows and their chickens and their turkeys running about this place. So lucky for the Prughs, in 1917, Standard Oil discovered oil around this whole valley. And they arranged an arrangement with the Prughs, and they pluck a couple oil wells on this property, and overnight the Prughs became quite wealthy, living off Standard Oil's oil they picked off the property. So they lived quite handsomely. And William was very philanthropic. He had no wife, he had no children, and he stayed by his father's side his entire life. And William would treat his siblings and the grandchildren to places like Santa Monica, Long Beach, and even William bought a home on Cliff Drive in Laguna Beach. And they spent plenty of time up in Big Bear as well, enjoying the lake and the cool air up in Big Bear. Well, it got down to 110 degrees out here in San Gabriel.
It's beautiful.
So follow me a little more.
Hold on.
This is the road once again where they drove up their vehicles to the house. And the house sat right about here. This is a 2-story house, but they lived 3 families, 3 generations of people lived in the house here. They had their own water silos, so they collected their own water, and essentially they lived off the income from the wells. Now in 1933, William died. 1920, Peter Cornelius died, by the way, and his body was moved back to Butler, Pennsylvania. In 1933, William died. And so the property went into the hands of Mary Augusta Harnish, who was Peter Cornelius' daughter. And her family lived here until about 1945, and they moved up to San Marino. So the property was originally owned by Standard, and then they sold it on to Texaco, and now the property is owned by Chevron Oil. And interesting enough, the Prughs still have rights to some of the oil on this land, but the oil wells are capped, and there's no likelihood that we'll ever drill oil here again. Right here would have been the beautiful Prugh Ranch of 1915, El Aliso Ranch, the last home of Dr. Peter Cornelius Prugh, our 2-time great-grandfather. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed our tour.
Hi.